During apartheid, there were only 4 provinces, and majority of industrial and administrative capability and investment happened at the local state.
Yeah.
That is the coal face of service delivery. Yeah. And delivering services itself has a lot of economic potential. There's so many jobs that are immediately possible if you build internal state capacity, do away with the tenders. Don't give people EPWPs, give them permanent jobs, secure jobs, so that they build and maintain roads, so that the security guards, the cleaners have proper contracts. And that means buying power in the hands of majority of the citizens. Once they've got buying power, anybody that wants to do business will come here because the people here have buying power. But the current arrangement keeps money in the hands of few people, majority of which is spent in Europe through the European cars and through expensive products that, so money is in the bag, it goes to Europe or it goes to China and so on and so forth. You've got to circulate majority of the currency in the local economy, at least more than 7 times.
How would that work in real practical terms? Let's take, for example, the challenge that Pick It Up is having. If you are now the head of this city region, with Johannesburg facing this challenge, which is labor-related, and it's ending up, of course, affecting waste management.
Well, the current configuration depends so much on outsourcing of the delivery of services. Do you know, it's so catastrophic because these tenderpreneurs, because they are on the payroll and they work on the basis of there being problems in the infrastructure, they damage the infrastructure. They go and block sewers. They've damaged the infrastructure of water. For an example, in Mamelodi, the people of Mamelodi have not had water for a couple of years. You've got brand new water tanks that are delivering water. That's a business. So in an instance where you do away with the tenders, you hire people directly and they deliver services, no one is going to damage the infrastructure because they know we're not going to call a tenderpreneur. Workers of the municipality are going to go and fix the problem. And that will have to be done on proper wages. So the configuration of the budget of Johannesburg will be the interest of building internal state capacity. So waste collectors will get proper wages, the wages that they deserve, and the wages that will expect them to work as qualitatively as possible to make the city clean.
One would say, why have you not tried that thing? I mean, in Ekurhuleni, at least there we know you're in charge of treasury. Why didn't you not cancel tenders completely? Because part of the issues that the Ekurhuleni EFF had to deal with there was the issue of waste pickers themselves. Actually, trucks went disappearing, they found them again, and the tenders are still a big thing. Tenders for cutting grass and fixing fences and the like. Why don't you get in there and abolish tenders completely?
Well, we have there has to be a council resolution. And the council has taken a resolution to that effect. And that resolution is going to be followed through. But the current contracts have to end. So there is a process in place in Ekurhuleni for massive insourcing of workers. In Johannesburg, we're the ones, by the way, and I think South Africans have got to hear the truth and accept the truth, that we're the ones that forced Herman Mashaba kicking and screaming against the interest of the DA at the time, to insource security guards in Johannesburg. And when they did the math, they realized not only are they going to save money, they're going to be able to hire more workers, increase wages. Those security guards earn between 12 and 14,000 rand. Imagine a household. If every household had a person earning between 15 and 20,000 rands, that's buying power. They're not going to buy Ferraris and German cars. They're going to extend their homes. Once they extend their homes, that means brick factories, that means cement factories. There's going to be a trickling down effect. That's how you build an economy. That's how you build particularly a productive economy in which we produce the goods that are circulating as in the market.
Yeah, you say when you come in, the wardens you will incorporate into the proper police force. We need boots on the ground. But you're saying the rest of the Nasispani folks, maybe some of those who are hired to put in solar systems and so on and so forth, you're going to get rid of them. Are you saying those jobs are not important?
No, not really. We're saying that the ANC has had an electoral propaganda misleading program. Because they are desperate. And I don't think we should mislead South Africans. You'll have July unrest extended over years. In-service training is not a job. It's a short-term contract, 3 months. So the majority of the non-Hispanic promises are like those food parcels that come out during elections. After elections, they disappear. They are meant like an opium to put our people into sleep so that they don't seek change. You've had chronic unemployment for over 30 years. And I'm saying to you, the evidence of job creation is factories. You've got to open factories. Both post-war Europe, apartheid, in the 1930s, Afrikaners in South Africa were responsible for less than 7% of South Africa's GDP. They were the poorest whites in the world. They were an embarrassment to the white supremacist culture. How did they get exhumed out of that state of economic devastation? Apartheid used parastatals, job reservations, to exhume them, distributed land, forcefully removed South African aboriginals, African people, gave them land for free, and employed them in huge parastatals. They got skilled, they got educated. Over 60 years, a new class emerged of the middle class, of SMMEs, and majority of their SMMEs, Thabo, were engaged in production, in the production of goods. They were engaged in textile industry, they were engaged in engineering, and so on and so forth. So you've got to build internal state capacity, use parastatals to exhume the black population out of one, landlessness, out of poverty, and then the economy is going to be rejuvenated.
Right.
But secondly, you've got to do industry. Right. You've got to build factories. Non-Hispan is not a solution. The solution are the factories, and the factories are in the manifesto of the EFF.
So let's get back to that conversation of your economic policy and your plan to create jobs. One, as you've mentioned, it's based on building state capacity, right? But two is based on, or at least the key pillars, but there's more. The protection of particular industries and allowing those industries to thrive. Let's stick with that a little bit. Some people would say, well, is that not the same thing that people are asking for when they say protect South African jobs?
Well, it certainly is, but you cannot protect the jobs you don't have. You've got to create jobs. And in the natural process of creating jobs, then you will be able to prioritize South Africans. But you've got to create jobs. And as you say, the actually policy of protection of infant industries comes from the United States. The same United States that when it got developed, it kicked away the ladder and said, don't protect infant industries. For them to come above and outdo the European economies in the 1800s, they had to do protection of infant industries. I give examples, for an example, with our plastic sector, because the raw material of plastic is available here in South Africa. And Sasol's process of turning coal into petrol, they've got a byproduct of plastic. It goes overseas, it comes back as finished products that don't really need degrees. Those factories where the plastic chairs are being made, where the fork and knives, the Tupperware is being made, this plastic where it's being made, they don't really need sophisticated skills. You learn on the job. It's like doing garden. You learn on the job. Majority of garden workers never went to college to learn how to do garden. So that's an example of an industry that you protect until it is competent and it's large enough for international competition. Those are the types of jobs that we're going to do. You've got to revitalize the mines, not just the gold mines. You've got to look at the mining of clay, because there are a lot of clay products, particularly in the construction sector, in the high-earning houses, as well as limestone. Yeah. Those mines are possible right here in Gauteng. Yeah. So you do a list of products that you can have a competitive advantage of, and list them, sit down, you list them as government and say, we're going to protect these ones through tariffs, high tariffs, as well as some subsidies, and make sure that they grow, but they are labor intensive at the same time. They're going to be able to give you sustainable jobs. No one is going to come from China, and suddenly evidence is in the last 30 years, from China, from Europe, and create jobs for you. We've got to do it ourselves.
One would say then, how does that work in the context, of course, of macroeconomics and geopolitics, where it needs to be a quid pro quo kind of situation? So also in the context